speed of implementation is so massive. Like, I always think about, there's always that fear. There's that inside fear that you have, but you just go, man, who cares? Just make it happen. Do it.
Mm-hmm.
You ain't going to die. Just do it.
Yeah.
And you learn and things happen.
Yeah, I love it. Be uncomfortable and then just do it anyway, right?
You grow.
Hello, and welcome to Build Your Remarkable Practice podcast. This podcast is dedicated to chiropractors who are in the seasons of launching and building their practice. Join myself, Dr. Lona, and my co-host, Dr. Bobby, as we have conversations each week as it relates to building the practice of your dreams. And remember, you can have a remarkable practice as part of a remarkable life, not instead of one. We're here to lead you on the way.
What's up, team? Welcome back to the Build Your Remarkable Practice podcast with, you know what I'm going to say? It's usually the amazing Dr. Lona Cook and myself, Dr. Bobby Lajasi. But today we have a special installment for you guys. Dr. Lona is not with us today. It's her day or her week off. Instead, we've got a special guest in the house. And this is somebody who I've had the great pleasure of knowing now for a number of years. And when people around the globe ask me and they say, hey, what's a great example of a practice that's just cranking? That's what you call a CEO-driven practice that runs as a business. When people say, hey, what's a practice that has that set up where you've got multiple associates, the owner actually can take time off, but can also still adjust if they want. And in the same breath, when I get new graduate chiropractors that say things to me like, who is a great example of somebody that just out of school, okay, hit the ground running, and what are some lessons that we can learn from this person? I'm talking about someone, guys, who's gone from zero to multi-seven-figure practice, literally, when you'll hear his story within the first 18 to 24 months, I think it is, of leaving school, which is totally not the common thing that we see in chiropractic. So this is someone that you guys want to lean in. We've got a special episode today because I'm talking about none other than the special guest himself, Dr. Timay Ozkose, or some of you might know him as Coach Oz. Coach Oz, what's going on, bro? How you doing?
Coach Bobby, you are a legend. I'm doing awesome. We're just coming back from an awesome week in practice. We had a great start to the week and a great way to finish as well. So always seeing new clients, always seeing new faces, and a lot of lives changed and a lot of lives saved. So how am I doing? I'm feeling on purpose and I'm feeling driven.
Man, I'm pumped because on purpose and driven Oz is exactly what we want. So, man, I just did a big introduction there for you, and everything that I said, when I was saying that, just came to my mind because I watched this whole journey unfold. And you've been an absolute superstar, man. You're someone who literally graduated from a mechanistic school, let's just call it that, right? A university. Yeah. I know probably had a couple of months of struggle, right? Maybe in the very early days, but literally just went to build this mammoth of a practice with a business partner of yours, Dr. Grant Bond. So, your mind is genius. And whenever you can leverage genius, you want to stand on the shoulder of the giant. So Oz, why don't you talk to us a little bit about, introduce us to your journey. So how did that journey look for you, man? Talk us through what happened. What kind of journey have you been on in chiropractic? We'd love to know more.
So, you know what, I'm going to go start all the way from the beginning because most of us chiropractors, we come from different origins, right? But mainly the three biggest ones I find is chiropractors that change from the medical profession, they become chiropractors. There's another set, we're grown and we're born into chiropractic. And then the third is chiropractic changes our life. And chiropractic changed my life. I originally started out being an engineer, wanting to study engineering, not because I had a passion for it, it's just what everyone else was doing. And I was like, yeah. So I was not very purposeful driven. And then when I had my back screwed up working as a bartender, being very young, being very cocky, hurt myself, unfortunately. But that's when chiropractic came, and then it shifted my whole life. And that's why I studied chiropractic, finished school, and that's where I'm standing today. Now, the journey out of university and into chiropractic is a whole different story. Because the first, I would say, 6 to 12 months was probably the most difficult and the most stressful time of my year. Because when I graduated, I knew what I wanted to do, right? I wanted to be the best chiropractor I wanted to give, love, and serve. I wanted to help as many people as possible. Probably the same as you, right, Bobby?
Yeah, totally, man. I wanted to help as many people as possible, but I had no idea how to do that.
Exactly. Right. So I found the associateship position, great chiropractor, but did not know how to nurture me and utilize me to its max capacity. So for the first, I would say 6-7 months, I struggled. And when I say I struggled in terms of getting new patients in, converting new patients to care, giving them good quality care that they needed. I struggled in all avenues. I knew what I wanted. I had the fire and the passion, but I wasn't able to get that across. So I actually shifted from one position to another position in chiropractic until I found someone that actually came and changed my life, right?
So come back a second, Oz, because I know we're going to get stuck into this in detail, right? I know everyone wants to know how you did the transformation, but let's go back to the struggle times first, right? So when you say your first few months when you graduated out of school, you struggled. What does that look like? Did you start from scratch in like an associateship position? If you're comfortable, I mean, it's up to you. Like, what kind of numbers were you seeing? Were you building? Were you not building? Like, talk to us a little bit more about those struggle days. What did that actually look like for you?
Yeah, man. Like it's nothing to, be all happy about, but people need to know that there is pain when you start out and when you graduate. And, the associate position, I was not taking over a patient base, so it was going to be starting from zero. There was a what you call rumination package, getting you warmed up. We'll give you a salary. We'll try to give you new patients that do come into the practice, but there was no proper marketing systems in place. And what ended up happening, I would see maybe 20, maximum 30 new patients. Sorry, 30 patient visits a week. And
Okay.
that would fluctuate between 30 to 16 to 10, maybe back up to 20, because there was nothing that I knew what I was doing. I was just doing the best I can given the tool set that I had. Right.
Yeah. And so this is a challenge that I see so often in new graduates. So you'd come out, you were in an associate position, you were seeing from anywhere from what I can hear, 10 patients a week to 30 patients a week. And at the same time, you're trying to build your clinical certainty, you're trying to build your clinical expertise, you're trying to build your communication certainty, you're trying to build your philosophical certainty. Yet at the same time, it's very hard to do that if you're seeing 10, 15, 20, 25 people a week, right?
Yeah. Very, very difficult. Because the biggest thing I found, right, was I've got the energy, I've got the passion, and I had the time. I had the time to get out there, see if I can get more people across. But the biggest thing I found was, hey, what's going on right now? Like I'm going out, but I'm not attracting new patients. Maybe one new patient a week. And that's if that new patient actually decides to take up care as well. So that whole startup phase was super slow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like I can tell you, man, first year out, I barely scratched $20,000. Now I can't tell you there's the money aspect, but the psychological and the emotional aspect where it actually switched into, I'm not here to give love and serve. I need to freaking survive. And it changes the whole mindset game at that point.
Yeah, 100%, man. I feel you and I hear you because I had almost identical experience. And if you're someone that's listening to this, guys, I think it's really powerful for you to hear this because very often you'll see something that's like the current product. You see the current product when you see Oz speaking on stage and rocking up to immersions with this big team and multiple DCs and multiple chiropractors, and you hear him on coaching calls or you hear him speaking. You see the current version of Oz, right? Same thing with me. You guys tune in here every week. You see the current version of me. But I think it's really powerful to actually look at, that older original version. Because you say that in your first year, it was like, all right, $20,000 is how much you earn. I was the same. I calculated my first year. I actually worked in the supermarket, which is here in Australia. It's called Coles. And I kept working in Coles in my first year to supplement because I'd making $300 a week. And I remember some weeks my mum was like the manager there, right? So some weeks I'd work these extra shifts. I remember looking at my pay and I'd be like, okay, I made, $600 a week from Coles this week. And I made $400 a week from being a chiropractor. And I was like, how does this work? Didn't I study 5-6 years so I could move into a professional job, professional income? Yet I had no idea what I was doing. And at the same time, like you just said, how am I going to practice my communication? How am I going to build my certainty? How am I going to build my business acumen if I wait all week to do a screening and we do a screening and one new person comes in? So what I'm hearing you say is you guys had no systems around attraction, but it sounds like around conversion and retention too. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. So that was a big lesson. That was a big life lesson, really getting into that. I knew the pain of practice. I knew the pain of not having systems in place, not having marketing systems in place. And by the way, systems was still a new concept to me at this time. So I didn't even know that was an issue. You only know what you know, right?
Yeah, 100%, bro. And so how did you feel at that time, man? Was it kind of a case of like, were you questioning, did I pick the right career? Did you have like daily battles with yourself? Like, what was the psychology going on at that point in your mind?
Like psychology, as I mentioned, was like you go into the survival mode. You go into, look, I got to start making money in other ways. And like you, working a second job, right? And I decided to jump into aged care for about half a year. Half a year as a chiropractor in aged care, but they also didn't let you practice the way you want to practice. But what I did develop there, thankfully, was great communication. Learning to interact with people, speak to people, connect with people was really powerful. But I knew that this wasn't what I wanted to do because this wasn't really practicing chiropractic. And that's where, towards the end of that year, is where I made the shift and I decided to make the change to go to somewhere else, find somewhere new. And that's what really started to kickstart, basically. It was a big kick in the butt to say, let's kickstart our chiropractic future.
See, here's what I love about that, okay? What ultimately Oz is saying here, and what I'm hearing you say, man, is that at the end of the day, it got to a point where you had to take personal responsibility and accountability. And as much as there was external circumstances that had led to that, there did get to a moment where you decided, you know what? Jim Parker used to say this, if it's to be, it's up to me. I've got to make a shift. That it starts off with me. I've got to draw a line in the sand. I've got to make a shift. Is that right?
Massive. Yep. Exact for exact.
Yeah. And so take us through then, man. So that's okay. You said that's your first, how long? 6 to 12 months in practice. Is that right?
6 to 12 months around there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. And then what happened next? So after that, all right, you're struggling, you're trying to figure things out. And one day you had a moment where you realized, I've got to shift, I've got to change this. What happened next? Take us to the next stage of the journey.
So I'm like, look, I'm still fresh and I recognize that I don't know everything. So I need to find another practice where I could work in and I could start to learn. And leaving from Sydney, New South Wales, down to Wollongong, I met another awesome chiropractor. His name is Dr. Bond. Freaking rock star. He's been practicing for more than 25 years, more than 30 now. But basically, he said, I could tell you the story, man. I'm going to go from scratch. Found the ad, clicked on the ad, and he gives me a call. He's like, can you come at 5 o'clock in the morning? And I was like, 5? He's like, yeah, 5. I go, all right, done. So here I am getting up at 3:30 in the morning, driving down from Sydney to Wollongong, which is about an hour and a half to 2 hours away, rocking up at 4:30, and then he's already there, and it's not even 5 o'clock yet. Walks me in, gets me a coffee, and then we start the interview process. He walks me for an entire morning shift. So I was there from 5 o'clock to 1:30 p.m.
And what did you guys talk about there? So how did that happen? Because that in itself is a unique thing, man. That's very unique.
So it is an entirely different process. Like just the human being that he is, he cares, he listens. He was asking me questions. He wanted to get to know me on a personal level. He didn't just want to know me as, you're just here to be an associate doc. He wanted to know me as a person. Like, why do I like chiropractic? Why do I want to be a chiropractor? And as he was doing this, we were walking in and out. He introduced me to his front desk team. He was the only DC at the time. And introducing to the practice members that would come in and out, and he would go out to adjust. He would go in for a new patient. He'd walk out. He'd do a report of findings. And here I am in an interview, also observing and seeing how the practice run, how there's all these systems in place and going, wow, this is amazing. So we went through that whole interview process in between, back and forth. Hits 1:30 p.m. See you later. 4 p.m. He's like, I really like you, Oz. You want the job? And I literally said, yep, let's do it, man. And I think about 3 weeks later, I made the move down.
So you moved from home, right? And I know you really well, man. You're a very tight family guy, right? So, you know, you're much like me. So in our culture, right, you grow up with mum and dad, right? You get to school, mum and dad's house. So that was a big deal for you to move out of your home, and you moved like an hour and a half down south, right, to take on this opportunity.
Like, I can tell you, mum and dad didn't want me to do it. Right? They were like, we don't want you to go that far. We don't want you to travel. But in my heart, I said, this is the practice. This is the style that I wanted. This is what I needed to do. And I followed my heart, and I knew it was the right decision to make. And so far, over 6 years, almost 7 years, it's been paying off like amazing.
Nice. I love it, bro. I love it. So talk to us about that. So fast forward now. So 6 years passed. I mean, when I opened up this episode, I said that you guys are an example of an office when people ask me, who should I go observe? What should I go and watch? How do I see a CEO office? How do I see a multi-7-figure chiropractic office doing this well? I said, you guys are people that are top of my list very often at the time, right? Talk to us about the next 6 years. Give us like just a bit of a summary of what happened. I know you onboarded Associate 1, Associate 2, and Associate 3, and Dr. Bond completely stepped out. Take us through about what does that journey look like over the next 6 years?
Yeah. So basically, you know, once that time of the year hit a couple of years ago, things were up in the airs. Dr. Bond was like, look, Oz, I want you to start taking over the practice. I want to step back. I want you to be in charge. So that's what I did. I stepped up there as well. There was an opportunity in front of me. There was a lot of chaos, uncertainty at the time, as everyone would know. I still stepped up. And stepping up into there, taking over the associates, training and equipping. You know, before we even onboarded the associates, like Bond and I, we grew our practice from about 250 to about 450 to 500 together, just us two. And then with our new associates on board, you know, our practice has been cranking 600, 700 plus now. So there's really great systems in place now. And I can unpack some of that if you like me to, Bobby.
I love it, man. So I love that journey. So, I mean, hearing that is just insane, right? So you go from somebody who is struggling to get 10, 15, 20 people a week, right, in his first six to 12 months in practice, to going inside of an office that then together over the next 12 months, you know, you guys built to 500 visits a week. And then I know it happened. Like one thing that I know looking at the journey and seeing it firsthand is that, you know, it kind of happened seemingly pretty quick. Like everything started to click. And then the second chapter was, all right, well, let's start onboarding associates. And then you guys, you know, went from 500 visits a week to 600, 700 visits a week. I know now, you know, the battle plan is like, all right, well, let's crack the magical 1,000 mark. And I know you guys are gonna do that, right? But just hearing that is awesome. And for me, it's a message of encouragement for everyone, because it shows you what's possible, and it shows you how when things come together, when there's alignment of what I call preparation, all right? So preparation and timing come together, that creates opportunity, right? So, you know, I know that this didn't just happen by luck, right? So there was preparation. There was things that you were doing behind the scenes, and there was things that now when you jump on and you share this with people that, you know, people forget and people don't recognize and realize. So one thing I know about you, man, is you love to help people and you have a heart full of service, and you're the kind of person like how I am that's always been like, you know what, I figured this out. This works really well. Just do this. All right. Don't reinvent the wheel. Just do this and do it like this. All right. This part of it, don't tweak. Don't change things. Just do it like this. And this part of it, if you want, tweak and change it. Okay. You can make it your own style. So here's what I want to really get out of your brilliant mind today, man. And that is this. Along that journey, 3 biggest lessons learned. So we can even call this a journey. We can call this journey from 10, right, to, you know, I think you guys tapped out at the moment, something like 750 or 780 a week. So journey from 750 a week, right? From 10 to 750 journey. What were the 3 biggest lessons, bro? Because I know I like to do this. I like to summarize for myself. When things are doing great and whenever everything I'm touching is turning to gold, I write things down. I journal, right? And I come up with dot points that are like key things that I'm learning. And equally, when there's the moments that I'm maybe in my mind failing or I'm not progressing how I want, I also write down and I journal those moments. So Loz, this is what you and I ultimately wanted to get to, which is 3 biggest lessons learned in your journey, right?
Yeah.
To be an absolute rock star. And, you know, one thing that I love that I want to share with everyone is when you talk about these numbers, I know everyone's number of visions are different, but what I love about your situation as well is you're not in there adjusting all these people. You adjust as many as you want, but you guys have a team-driven practice. So it's a practice that's very team-focused, that's very, very clear with their core values, their vision story. This is something that you guys take time off and you have holidays and vacations and travel the world. And I know, you're Turkish background, you love to go, away and go back home as well. So it's team-driven. It functions as a business, which is amazing, right? So 3 biggest lessons learned in your journey, bro, starting with lesson number 1. I'd love to know what those lessons were and how somebody can apply these lessons in their own practice in their own life.
Okay, just what you said earlier, right? Like that freedom, everything that was given, you need to surround yourself with A players. And when I'm talking about A players, I'm not just talking about if you own a practice and you bring on a team and you onboard a team and you get A player teams only. I'm also talking if you're starting out from scratch and you're by yourself, you're working as an associate, you're looking for a place to be an associate, your friends, your family, everyone needs to be A players. But in terms of chiropractic, having a good mentor and having a good coach was one of the biggest changes that I made in my life. And that A player coach, which is Dr. Bobby, by the way, I got introduced to him, and an A player mentor, which was Dr. Bond, coming into my life, skyrocketed my career and has allowed not just myself, has allowed me to onboard A player team members that are more purposeful driven. They're more satisfied with the work they do. They help save lives. My associate docs are more successful. They're more driven. They're more passionate about chiropractic. We're all A players and we're all focused and purposeful driven towards one way, and that's making our community healthier.
Man, that's absolutely a golden nugget there. I would rewind, guys, what Dr. Oz just said there, because if you think about it, lesson number 1 was to surround yourself with A players, the right people. And I love what you said there about how, you got to look at friends, you got to look at family. Like, I'm sure in your journey, and I had this in my journey, there was probably some friends that maybe at the time were friends, but with time you kind of grew apart with those people. Maybe sometimes that even happens when you're in a circle with your family, right? Did you experience that as you started realizing more just
100%.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%, right? So it's surrounding yourself with people that are on the same path, same journey, aligned core values, vision, story, right? One thing I'll never forget, the first meeting that Oz and I had, and I've been there from day one, because I remember when Oz started the practice and we're having our first discovery, we're having a chat on the phone, right? And there's an episode, guys, if you haven't watched it, about 5 or 6 episodes back, where we talk about attributes, right, of a successful chiropractor. And one of the attributes is speed of implementation and speed of decision-making, which means people that make decisions fast, okay, and change them slowly and implement things fast. Speed of implementation is one of the keys to success in chiropractic, right? And I remember when we chatted, I was actually in LA at the time, right? I was at an event in LA and I was in a hotel room. We had a chat and I'd heard about Oz before, and I'd heard about your struggles and I heard about kind of like your background. And so we're chatting about, all right, what coaching would look like, masterminds would look like, what systems, process, procedure, what does that look like? And I could see, in your eyes that there was this element of, maybe anxiousness, or this element of like, is this the right thing? Or, this sounds like what I need, but I'm not sure. And it's so often the moment where some people can procrastinate, okay? And procrastination for me is one of the biggest signs of opposite to success, failure, right? And speed of implementation.
100%.
Okay.
100%.
I remember literally when we got off that phone, that within minutes, right, I was getting a text from you, right, which at the time was a big commitment, right? You're a fresh uni student coming out of school with, tens of thousands of dollars of debt, just been seeing 15 visits a week, right? And yet you had a decision to make. But I remember you got this message from you saying, all right, I'm in, rock and roll, let's do this. And from that moment, I knew straight away, and I think I even said it to you straight away, all right, this guy's destined for success. I just know it because of the way that you made decisions. Remember that?
I remember you kept telling me, and I was like, can't wait to see it. And then it just literally happened. But
Yeah.
what you said as well, right? Like literally taking action, speed of implementation is so massive. Like I always think about, there's always that fear. There's that inside fear that you have. But you just go, man, Who cares? Just make it happen. Do it.
Mhm.
You ain't gonna die. Just do it.
Yeah.
And you learn and things happen.
Yeah. I love it. Be uncomfortable and then just do it anyway, right?
You grow.
Yeah, spot on. So rule number one, lesson number one, Oz, I want to make sure I got this right for everyone, is surround yourself with A players. A players, if you've got to practice, right, that's going to also mean the team that's inside there. But A players, what you're talking about is wider circle as well. Friends, families, coaches. If you haven't got a coach, invest in a coach. If you're an associate, take note of who your mentor is, okay? Because the people that you surround yourself with is ultimately the people you end up becoming like.
I'll add one more to that, right? The reason why I say coach and mentor is because who can illuminate your blind spots better? Like earlier, I didn't know nothing. But when you have someone, a coach like you, Bobby, watching your back, saying, did you miss this? Did you see this? Did you see that? It's like, well, holy moly, I'm missing a whole bunch of stuff here. So it makes a massive impact.
Yep, love it, bro. Preaching to you about it, man. My journey is almost identical. I was in school still, final year of my study when I made that decision, right? I was making $300 a week working in a supermarket, and I was like, all right, let's do this. Let's rock and roll. And it's funny you should say that because the same thing in my mind was, well, I'm not going to die. What's the worst case scenario? I die. I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to die. What's the second worst case scenario? Second worst case scenario is I remember at that time for me, my own personal journey, right? I had to sign a contract. There was like an 18-month commitment. And it was like an $18,000, I think, 18-month commitment at that time. That's what was going on, right? And I had 16K in my account. So I go, okay, worst case scenario is I lose it all. I go, telling me I can lose it all? Let's do it.
Remind me never to go to the casino with you, mate.
No, that's why I don't gamble. I don't gamble at all.
I know, right?
Love it, love it. All right. So tell me, number two, second lesson learned in journey from 10 to 750 plus. What was the second lesson, bro, that sticks out at you now in that journey?
I would call it the philosophical groove. Okay. You know, every chiropractor loves to have their own philosophy behind it. There's this one big philosophy, but there's also the way we practice, the way we look after people. So knowing how you want to practice, knowing how you want to deliver care, knowing what type of person you want to be and how you want to live, and you reflect that philosophy out to everyone else as well. So when you're starting out fresh, you got to find someone that's aligned with your philosophy. Because together, if you're both aligned, you're going to, like similar to A players, right? You're both aligned, you're going to be able to grow. But if there's a misalignment, I'm literally talking about subluxation here. If there's a misalignment of your philosophies, right? Now you're going to be having issues. You're not going to be able to grow as successfully as you would be if you were both on the same page. So first of all, this is if you're an associate looking for an associateship. Make sure you find a place that's similar, that you want to practice the way you want to practice, right? Have those similar techniques. Going to the seminars that you want to learn about. Because when you're fresh and you're a new graduate, you might not have that philosophy fully aligned. You're curious, you want to learn. And you should never lose that willingness to learn because you're always going to be learning and growing. But there's certain core beliefs that you hold in your heart that you want to nurture and you want to grow and you don't want to go against.
I love that, man. So find your philosophical groove. How do you do that though? Because how did you do it? How did you find like, okay, philosophically, like I found in my experience, for me, learning my philosophy was really an unearthing process where I needed to sit down and get super present with myself and just ask myself some questions. You know, notably questions that I would ask myself would be, what do I believe? Okay, like when it comes to healthcare, what are my fundamental beliefs? Okay. And when I asked myself that question, I worked out, well, I believe that the body's intelligent. That, like there is intelligence about the body. You know, I believe that we're designed to be healthy. You know, I have these fundamental core beliefs. I believe that, you know, anything that we put into the body isn't necessarily good for it. Like, how can it be? Why would some drug or medication, get this, ready? That if you put it into a sick person, we say it's helping them, but you put that same medication into a healthy person and we say, that's crazy, it's going to make them sick. I didn't get that, right? Now, I totally understand there's a place for things. I get it. I'm not saying that, right? I'm not here like saying there's no place for nothing. No. But what I just never understood, like, you know, I'd see people in my circle that would be taking like, you know, 18 tablets a day to apparently stay healthy. Yet if you put those 18 tablets a day into someone that's already healthy, you would say, what are you doing? You're crazy, man. Right? So I worked out, well, hang on. I do have this internal philosophical belief that, you know, your body's designed to be healthy, and that we need to give it the right environment in order to do that, right? Like, so for me, it was an unearthing process, right? But what did you find for you, man? What helped you really find your philosophical groove and develop it?
Unfortunately for me, it was like more like a fire crisis mode. The biggest thing I can say is that, you know, learning, going to seminars, you do learn the philosophies about natural healing and everything that you just said as well, right? Like the body's self-healing, self-regulating, it's got the innate potential to function, but it never really clicked with me. And unfortunately for me, it was my mum. And, you know, growing up in a woke family was first for my mum, and she never looked after herself, and it never clicked to me. And it wasn't because what she would do is for 20 years, she was on anti-reflux tablets. Okay. Now, you can tame it. I don't tame it because this is literally about my mum, and I'm very, very hardcore on this. But those anti-reflux tablets for 20 years has messed up her whole system, her whole nervous system, and how it responds in the stomach. So what they did was they said, let's put you on the stronger stuff. Let's put you on the protein pump inhibitors. Still having ulcers, had to go in for multiple surgeries. And now she has flare-ups every couple of years. And every time seeing that, I never clicked to me until it was right in front of my face where she was on the floor. And then just saying to myself, holy moly, if we're not doing a better job every single day, this is what's going to happen. So I look at everyone like I look at my mum, and I say, I want you to be as healthy as possible, and I don't want you guys to end up in a crisis. I don't want every son or daughter, mum and dad, to look at their children or their fathers and mothers and see what I saw and feel what I feel. Right? That was the fire that ignited my philosophy, that ignited my passion to a whole new level, where it went from I want to help people to I want to change and save people's lives.
Yeah, that's deep, man. So for you, it was, you know, seeing that with your mum firsthand that obviously made you realize, you know what, there's something deeper at play here, because, you know, they're just doing things to her rather than doing things for her, right? Or like helping educate her about what caused this in the first place, or helping educate her, great, like, okay, this is the plan right now, but how do we stop this from happening in the future? Or how do we ensure that you make positive changes? Is that right?
That's it. Right? There was no education. There was no education to it. It was just take this for 20 years. Whereas now I come in and it's a whole different paradigm shift for her. And it's a lot harder to teach.
Yep.
Yeah.
Spot on, man. So tell me that if point number 2 is find your philosophical groove, any tips on that? Like, is there any resources or books or things that you read or place that you can go, or like how do you help that?
Green books are always great. Seminars are another great one, interacting with other chiropractors. And when you're in practice, paying attention to every person that you serve, every person that you adjust, because there's going to be miracles happening every single day. And if you look for it, you'll find it. You'll ask questions being like, what else has been changing in your life? Oh, it's not just my back pain that's better. You know, I've become a better family dad. I'm playing with the kids. It's not really about the pain, but you've just changed this person's life.
Yeah.
That's where your philosophy just rockets to the next level.
Yeah. Amazing, bro. I love it, man. I love it. So rule number 2, lesson number 2, find your philosophical groove. And then that leads us to the third one, man. When you reflect on the journey, what's the third lesson that you learned and that you would to others also recommend that really kind of help you find your practice groove, right? Lesson number 3, what is it?
We've got to explode our certainty. Just go boom.
So when you say explode our certainty, you mean explode our certainty around chiropractic, explode our certainty around what we do, take to the next level. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, there's basically four types of certainty, the way we see it. You know, we've got our philosophical certainty, the why behind what we do. Then we've got our clinical certainty. You know, how certain are you with the recommendations, the clinical, the adjustments that you deliver? Then you've got your communicational certainty. How well do you actually communicate? How well do you communicate to the clients? hey, this is what we're going to be doing. And then you've got your business acumen. So as a chiropractor, if you're running a business, how certain are you that you're running the business the right way?
Okay, hold up. So Oz has just dropped some major nuggets here, right? So talk to us, back up a second here, Oz, right? So what you just said to us is that you guys, or that you have noticed that there's 4 different certainties that chiropractors can draw from, right? Now, let's just back up for a second, right? So one thing that I recognize and realize is that one quality that people love, okay, is the quality of certainty. In fact, if you look at anyone in your life, guys, regardless of where you're listening in from here, that you look up to in your life as on some level, okay, whether that's chiropractors that you look up to, whether that's mentors that you look up to, whether that's teachers that you look up to, coaches that you look up to, friends that you look up to, family that you look up to, right? World-class sports stars that you look up to, okay? One thing that I guarantee they all have in common is that they ooze in bucket loads certainty. They ooze in bucket loads certainty around what they do, okay, and what they stand for. And I feel as though in chiropractic, where what's running rampant in chiropractic is this subordination, where chiropractors feel less than, okay? They feel that they're not enough. They feel as though chiropractic isn't enough, okay? We come out of school thinking this, feeling this. Some of us spend a career like this, okay? And one thing that all successful people you see they have in common is that they ooze certainty. And man, it is an attractive quality. When you see someone that has bucket loads of certainty, you want to get amongst those people. You want to get some of that. You want to bottle it up. You want to rub shoulders with them. You're like, man, how do I get this? So we know that this is a super important quality. In fact, get this, guys. People say, how do I get more new patients? Well, guess what? We in the Remarkable practice say that your attraction is a reflection of your certainty. So the higher level of certainty you have, the better that you're going to get new patients, regardless of what attraction technique or system that you utilize. So Oz just dropped a major nugget bomb and said, okay, if certainty is such a key thing, well, how do we get it? That's the old question. Where does it come from? And Oz, take us through what you just said. So you said that there's 4 different kinds of certainties, and those 4 certainties are philosophical certainty, okay, clinical certainty, communication certainty, and business acumen. So how does that work? How did you find out what was the one for you? Did you lean into that more? So take us through a little more detail about, all right, so what should I do with that information? How do I find out which one I am? What do I do as a result of that?
Like, first of all, it's going to be, we probably don't have enough time to unpack all of it, because it is you can talk about one of them for more than an hour each single time. But what I will tell you is that everyone's got a certain level where they're better at than others, right? Everyone has a certainty that they're much more geared towards and much more better at compared to the others. They got more strength. So for me, my clinical certainty and my philosophical certainty was off the roofs, right? After going through everything I went through, what I needed to develop was my communication certainty, because I realized in practice, I had this passion, I had this fire. I said, I know exactly what's wrong with you. You just said you've got back pain. I know what I need to adjust. But to actually get them to say, yes, please adjust me, I needed to actually communicate that. I couldn't just say, yeah, man, just lie down. I'm just going to get you adjusted. Adjust L5, L4. You probably subluxated towards the right or to the left. That's not going to get someone lying down on the table and saying yes. So
you've got to play the dance, right? There's a dance that happens, In day one in the history, right, it takes us a minute to work out, or it takes 30 seconds to work out, all right, not a red flag. We just got to work out where you're subluxated, maybe, right? But, we can't just jump there that quickly. There's a dance that has to happen. We're going to have a connection.
So pretty much, yeah. So I had to develop my communication certainty, which is what I want to talk, because it was one of the biggest changes that I had. Because you could be the best adjuster, you could be a gun, but if you can't get that person saying, okay, for you to adjust them, you're not going to be able to help them. So that was one area that I had to improve on significantly.
And what helped you do that, man? How did you improve your communication in practice?
So big thing was scripts, right? Just having the scripts down in place, memorizing the scripts, and then eventually just bringing my own personality, bringing my own passion. So utilizing like my philosophy into the scripts. because there's things like you said at the start of this episode, right? There's things you don't have to reinvent the wheel. It's been done. This works awesome. Just use that, add your flavor to it, keep it to the same format. And as soon as I did that, game changer.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, from 30, 40% converting people, you're sitting at 80%. Massive.
Yeah. And it permeates everywhere. That's conversion. But it's the same thing when it comes to attraction and front lines and meeting people, chatting and talking and generating referral. It's the same thing when it comes to retention and building value and engaging someone in care, right? And progress exams and re-exams and re-reports. It all comes down to communication, right?
Massive. I could definitely tell you, I love talking about chiropractic inside of the office and outside as well. But at the end of the day, when I'm trying to bring someone into the practice, I can't just say, yeah, chiropractic's the greatest. No. I got to be like, Bobby, tell me, man, what's been happening with you? Right? I got to connect with you. I got to find out what's wrong with you so that you can actually listen, be heard, so we can get you under care.
Yep. Massive. And I remember this, man. I remember you were devouring the academy, right? Like you were in the academy, you're going through modules, communication, day 1, day 2, progress exams, progress reports, re-exams, re-reports, table talk, right? You are a rock star student. One thing looking from outside in, I can tell you as a person, you are a rock star student, man. Like, doesn't matter what levels you reach, you're always learning, available. And one of the other attributes of success, I like to say, is be coachable, right?
Massive.
Yeah, love it.
Thank you.
Cool. I love it. All right, bro. I know we're approaching time. We could talk for hours, and I know, there was a fourth one that you wanted to sneak in. We don't have time to unpack it, but if we're going to do another episode, right, and I know people are going to want you back for another episode to also talk more about the system stuff, what would the fourth and final thing as a bonus one be? What's the fourth lesson that you learned as a bonus? Maybe we'll get you back on and you can unpack this one for us in the future.
It's all about marketing mastery, right? You got to master your marketing, because as soon as you master your marketing, your practices are going to explode. You're going to serve so many more people. You're going to help so many more people. Can we unpack it? Do we have time?
Oh, not on this one, Oz. We're right at time, man. You can give us a quick 30-second overview what you mean by that. But yeah, if people want it, they're gonna have to follow us. They're gonna have to leave us a review, right? Or they're gonna have to reach out to you personally, and we'll get you back on.
All right, done. I'll leave it in 30 seconds. I'll just give a nice quick overview, right? The more certain you are, the more attractable you look. So people come to you, they come asking questions. You can actually get them into the practice. Then once you get more and more people into the practice grows. Then your community grows. You can serve more people. You can get out there more. You have more opportunities to create other forms of marketing. It could be external, digital, internal. There's a whole bunch of things. There you go. 30 seconds, done.
All right, guys, there you go. So look, you guys can see it. You can see it, Oz's energy. You can see it in his passion. He's ready to rock and roll. So master your marketing, right? Maybe Ray will get you back on that one and get you to unpack that one in more detail. We'd love to know about your marketing systems and how you guys make it pour with new patients inside of the office there. So maybe if we twist you up and get you back in, huh?
Easy, man. We can unpack that for hours.
I love it. Guys, there you heard it from Dr. Oz. So if you've got questions, if you want to connect, we're going to leave a link to Dr. Oz as scheduled calendar in the show notes. So jump on, have a chat. If it's something that you resonate with, if it's something that you want support with, if you find yourself in a similar journey or a similar situation, remember, you're not on your own. His first lesson learned, surround yourself with A players. So Oz, I appreciate you, bro. I appreciate everything that you bring, not just to your community, but you bring to chiropractic and that you bring to our community, because through helping create more successful chiropractors, we're able to serve more people and we're making more successful chiropractic. So I appreciate you, bro. You are a rock star student, man. Your journey is amazing. Watching it unfold is world class. So loved having you on the show. We're definitely going to get you back on. Have to do this again. Guys, if you want to reach out and connect with Dr. Oz, we're going to leave a link in the show notes. And of course, make sure you click on the 3 dots in the top right-hand corner. Okay, go to the show and then click subscribe and follow. If you're not following us, guys, make sure you subscribe and follow so we can help us help more chiropractors and then help
subscribe. Do it. It's the best thing you can do.
Love it. All right, guys, until next time, we'll see you next week.
See you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Build Your Remarkable Practice podcast. Remember, what the world needs now is chiropractic, and what chiropractic needs now is more successful chiropractors. If you like the podcast, please subscribe, share with your friends, and leave us a review. And if you'd like to connect with us personally, please click the links in the show notes to schedule a call.